where if they still have room to continue to go higher. That's the you need that, obviously. Otherwise, they're going in the other direction.
Well, we can be pretty philosophical here, but what is self-actualization? And for me, self-actualization is coming up with a goal, a purpose in life, and making it happen. And just the pursuit of that purpose drives me, excites me, and makes me happy. Now, I've started a number of different businesses, and I've been fortunate enough to self-actualize more than once. And, at some point you say, well, I don't need to self-actualize anymore, but guess what? It's still fun. And I've seen people self-actualize over and over again until a pretty old age. So I think the process is different for everybody, but having a purpose and following that purpose in an entrepreneurial setting can be very, very exciting.
Well, John, you have this book, Unlock Your Inner Entrepreneur. I think it's a really special book. It's not a hard read. It's not a long book. It just gets right to the point. Listeners, during our live show, you have an opportunity to either instant message on the console, or you can email me, brian@gotinvention.com. Some of you I know have my cell phone numbers and other numbers. You can text me as well. But if you want to ask questions now while the show is live to me, and I will ask John the questions live during the show. Okay, so John, I have a really simple question. Just from the title of your book, Unlock Your Inner Entrepreneur, does that mean that everybody is an entrepreneur and they don't even know it?
Not really. I wish everybody could be an entrepreneur. There have been a few studies out over time, and the first studies came out in the 60s that showed that about 15% of the population had the potential of becoming entrepreneurs. I think that percent has grown over time, and now with all the new technologies that we have available and all the resources that we have and the funding capabilities, we are probably at a much higher rate. I would say probably between 20 and 30%. So let's be optimistic. Let's say a third of the population has the potential of becoming entrepreneurs. Not all of them will succeed. We know, again, based on several studies, that those who have good advisors have a much higher chances of success. They basically double the chances of success. While a third of the population has the potential, not all of them will succeed. But I think we see more and more entrepreneurs today, and it's certainly something that the economy needs.
Well, this is why I had you on the show tonight, John, is because the inventors out there, it doesn't matter who they are or what they do for a living, if they're retired, if they're a student, whatever the situation is, people either don't have a job or they're not happy with their job or they love their job but they want to make more money, and they're coming up with all these different ideas, business ideas, invention ideas, and they're listening to the show to get some more information and to figure out how it is that they can take their idea and bring it to market. So now when we come up with this idea, John, we need to go through some steps, and we have the thought power of what you're presenting with the 5 steps of what you need to do and what you need to be. Now we just need to understand when is the right time to actually start a company.
So we have come up with 4 different types of entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So the first one we call the revolutionary entrepreneur. Those are the folks who may have had a job that was not satisfying to them, and one day they said, enough with this. They kind of went through a personal revolution, and within an instant they decided to quit their job and follow a different path and possibly start their own business. So they went through a personal revolution. So these are the revolutionary entrepreneurs. The second type is what we call the circumstantial entrepreneur. These are individuals who fell into certain circumstances where they ended up taking control of a business that they had to totally reinvent. So they became the circumstantial entrepreneurs. The third, which may fit more the listeners of this show, is the inventor entrepreneur. These are folks who came up with an invention and they brought it to market. Finally, the fourth type is the intrapreneur. This is someone who started a new business within a large company, but as a kind of like a standalone business supported by the large company. So each one of these inventors is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Let me pause a little bit with the inventor entrepreneur.
Great.
We know that there are three different types of inventor entrepreneurs. So you got the scientist inventor. Imagine, Nikola Tesla inventing the alternative current and then selling his invention to Westinghouse, or Edison, or a scientist with a white apron with hair flying over the air. So that's one type. Another one is the business person inventor. So Fred Smith, for example, is a good example of a business person inventor who invented FedEx. He was not a scientist. He didn't invent airplanes that ship packages or ships. He invented a new business model to deliver packages overnight. And finally, the third type is the marketer inventor. So a good example might be Michael Dell, who didn't invent the PC. He invented a better way to market the PC. So how do these inventors come to play? Well, they start with an idea, okay? We have a lot of ideas every day, or thoughts, I should say, every day. We just need one of these thoughts to become an idea, and that idea to become an invention, and then to become a business concept. And they also, all of them, had good business partners. So a scientist like Nikola Tesla, he teamed up with business people, in this case from Westinghouse. Every scientist needs a good business partner. Fred Smith, he teamed up with a number of specialists, experts. So he was the business person inventor, and he formed a team of actually 5 functional experts, logistics experts, what have you, technology experts who helped him out. The whole team was 6 people who started FedEx. And the marketer inventor wants a scientist to be successful. So Michael Dell, I'm not sure of the story, but he probably had some amazing technology guys who helped him develop Dell computers. So how do you take, your question, Brian, was how do you take an idea to market? Well, as an inventor, you have to find the right resources and the right person to help you, examine how motivated you are, and socialize the idea and build on it, because, everybody starts with a baby idea, but that's not good enough. We got to build it. We got to make it better. We got to give it time to make it better. And then the most important thing now is to get your first customer first. Many technology companies out on the West Coast will get customers before they even start developing the products, the software. Because when you have your first customer in line, then you know that you're going to have some revenue when you start investing in the business, and that's really important. And then finally, you got to manifest it. You need to make it happen. You can't talk about it.
Well, it sounds like there's some trend there of, like you were saying, the team and the development with a team. But now and I'm sure you've seen plenty and you've been involved with different products as well, because those were some services that you mentioned. Now, on the product side, when somebody comes up with an idea, let's say it's a kitchen gadget or something for your car, John, that they come up with, what sort of suggestions do you have once they come up with that idea? We always talk about doing your due diligence, doing a search and seeing if there is some kind of opportunity to get intellectual property protection. It may not necessarily be the only thing that's necessary, but, just to start off and see if you can get something. And then making up your 2D or 3D drawings and making up a prototype and then making some decisions at that point if you're going to manufacture or license your idea, making a little video, getting a business going. There's these steps of when you come up with a product idea. What sort of help can you give us, and some information you can give us on that side of the inventor world?
So, our mind has limitations. We may imagine how a product might work, but it might not work as well as we think it might. So my first advice to the listeners is, if you have an idea for a product, make a sample of it, make a model, make a prototype, and play with it. And you're not going to get it right the first time. I see it over and over again, where it takes a lot of invention upon invention to make a product right. And the mind cannot imagine all the limitations. You have to have a working prototype. That's so important. So I would say that's the first step. Mm-hmm. When then you have the prototype and you've perfected it, then you have to make a decision. Is this something that you will manufacture of your own? Will you start your own business? Will you go to market by yourself or with your team? Or are you going to license it? If you decide to do it on your own, then you have to follow the entrepreneurial path. And many entrepreneurs will take risks. Many will not patent their products, their inventions, because they don't want to spend the money with lawyers. They're willing to take the risk, at least for some time, until they have revenue and cash flow coming of the business, and then they will go and patent it. If you decide to license, which is the second path, which is also a great path, in order to maximize your licensing revenues and get better licensees, you may have to spend the money and patent your idea up front. Now, patents can be expensive, and they take time. The most important thing is to patent or file the application for the patent as soon as possible. The laws say that whoever filed first has the right to the patent. You also need to consider patent insurance, because you may be faced a situation where you may have to defend a patent that you filed. Just by filing the patent, you don't accomplish anything. You don't stop really anyone from copying your invention. You have to be able to defend your invention or your patent. So there are patent insurance packages out there that you may want to consider. Again, nothing is inexpensive, so you need to plan for some, let's call them investments. Mm-hmm. The good news is that if you have a licensee who's paying you, then you can afford to defend your patent, and you may be able to expand the patent and include additional elements. So it's a whole science.
Yeah. John, what's interesting is that I've been in the inventor world for a bit of time now, and I realize that there's trends in this industry as well, if you call it an industry. There was points where it was really a focus on licensing, the inventors, entrepreneurs that I was meeting. And now it seems like there's more of a trend of people really trying to do it on their own. They want to get out into the mass retail on their own, while the mass retailers are kind of really bringing down the amount of vendors that they're working with. So it's a little bit of a force. And what I do, and what I suggest also to inventors and entrepreneurs, is that when you have an idea and you're going through and you're at that point of either manufacturing or licensing, do both. Figure out at one point how much it's going to cost you to manufacture, what it's going to take. Do you need intellectual property, trademarks, and so forth to get it going? And at the same time, while I'm getting manufacturing quotes and kind of going through that, I'm really getting to understand more and more about my product and the industry. And that really gives me some leverage when I'm presenting to potential licensees at the same time, that I can explain all that and present all that to them. And if I get a licensing deal, that's great. And if I don't, then I'm ready to go. I can push the button and get my business going. What do you think about that, John?
I love it.